Well, hello there, my fellow Doombots, and in today's video, we are going to be ranking all of the Mission Impossible movies from best to worst. I love the Mission Impossible franchise. I think it is one of the best of all time. I love the fact that it's just Tom Cruise's insane bucket list where he just finds ways to push the boundaries of what is actually capable, of what he's actually capable to put on camera. And I think that if it was up to him, he would continue until he's 90. But the dude is freaking 60 years old and he's still going strong. My favorite Mission Impossible movie, this might be controversial, but for me it's not, is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. This film, just for the motorcycle stunt alone, where Tom Cruise drives a freaking motorcycle off of a cliff to follow it up by jumping off the motorcycle, going into a free fall, and then parachuting towards a moving train. Of course, the moving train was separate from that, but I just love that stunt. That's my favorite Mission Impossible stunt. Plus, it has a bunch of amazing action. I love the car chase scene with Gabriel's female henchman. She is just so insane. Kittredge returns from the very first Mission Impossible movie because every single government in the world is looking for this MacGuffin, which is the key. And then to sprinkle that little extra part that just stands it out for me from all of the other movies, it introduces us to the Entity, an evil AI that is trying to take over the world, or we don't really know what it is trying to do. And the mystery from this AI, coupled with the very eerie score every time Ethan Hunt is talking to it and that the AI is present, it is just so well. I love that cold open with the submarine. I just love this movie. I've watched it so many times. Then my second favorite movie is Mission Impossible Fallout. And I know that a lot of people will say that this is the best in the franchise. And you know, on a different day, I might say yes. But for me, I still think that Reckoning is the best. But this film is really, really good. This movie also has its amazing set of stunts, like the Halo jump, Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill climbing a cliff. The spy intrigue of this film is just really good. Of course, that bathroom fight scene was amazing. One of the most intense finales of the franchise. But yeah, I would agree that this is a really good movie. In third place for me right now is Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Maybe it's recency bias, but I did enjoy this film, even though I think it kind of did some missteps. The things that it did great were, of course, the stunts. I think that the airplane scene where Tom Cruise is jumping from airplane to airplane is one of the craziest freaking stunts ever pulled off on camera. Plus, it has this underwater scene where Tom Cruise is going to this submarine to retrieve the hardware for the Entity so that he can stop it. But talking about the Entity, it is kind of ruined. The intrigue that it built up in Death Reckoning with introducing us to the Entity is kind of ruined in this film, because in the first 15 minutes there's a scene where Tom Cruise puts on like this mask, and then has direct contact with the Entity, and it basically tells him, I'm going to blow up the Earth. And that's basically the entire plot of the film, you know, because that's it is tense, but I would have expected a little bit more from the Entity. I would have liked there to be more intrigue. Plus, the Entity's abilities are not really present in this film like they were in Death Reckoning, where it could do a bunch of crazy stuff that is not really happening in this film. Then we have Rogue Nation, also directed by Christopher McQuarrie. You can see that Christopher McQuarrie is, in my opinion, the best of the best when it comes to Mission Impossible movies. Of course, this film introduced us to Langstrom, I think his name is, who also appeared in Mission Impossible Fallout. This film also has a really crazy stunt where Tom Cruise hangs on the side of a freaking plane. Of course, he did this better in Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning, but still, this was crazy. I love the underwater sequence. This film is good. It's a great entry, and how could you not forget Lufer in his awesome little outfits? Then we get Ghost Protocol. the movie that set the foundation for all of the other 4 movies that came after it. This one was directed by Brad Bird, the same guy who did the freaking Incredibles. That's awesome. And yeah, I love this movie just for the fact that this movie has one of my favorite Tom Cruise stunts where he climbs on the side of the side of the biggest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa. The villain of this one is kind of forgetful. Tom Cruise is like framed for bombing the Kremlin or whatsoever, or something like that. Jeremy Renner's in this film, that's pretty dope. And of course, not forget Tom Cruise with his funny little mustache here in the bottom, pretending to be a Russian commandant. I thought that was a really funny scene with him and Benji. Number 6 for me is Tom Cruise is the very first Mission Impossible. I literally watched the very first Mission Impossible the morning of watching the Final Reckoning. I had never seen it before, and I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna watch it because there are some references to this very first movie in the trailer of the Final Reckoning. And this one came out in 1996 and was directed by Brian De Palma. And yeah, the thing that I love about this movie is that it literally sets up everything that the franchise will become in the final years. Of course, all of the stunts are there. The one where he jumps out of a restaurant with an exploding aquarium was awesome. John Voight plays the villain in this one. Kittredge is introduced in this film, who of course becomes an antagonist in the final 2 Mission Impossible movies again. And this movie also introduces us to Luther. Overall, I think that this is a great movie. I have a really big weak spot for films that are filmed with actual film, you know, that you can see the grain on the screen. It is really enjoyable, and it is actually necessary a little bit to watch to really enjoy the Final Reckoning, because there's this one scene where Tom Cruise breaks into this vault, and to get into it, he poisons the worker of the vault. And that guy basically gets explosive diarrhea, and the consequences of that explosive diarrhea sets up the Final Reckoning. So yeah, if you know, you know. Then number 7 for me is Mission Impossible 3, directed by J.J. Abrams. Let me tell you, the thing that I love about this movie is Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain. You know, that's really intense. Literally, it introduces the wife of Tom. It introduces Ethan Hunt's wife just so that Philip Seymour Hoffman can threaten Ethan Hunt and force him to steal something that's called the rabbit's foot, which also has a really big part in the Final Reckoning, but I will not get into that too much. I haven't seen this film in a long time, but what I do know is that this movie didn't really have a bunch of spectacular stunts, so that puts it down a little bit for me. The villain was, of course, amazing. It introduces Benji in this film. It was tense, but it's not the most enjoyable, and it's not really a film that I find myself going back to at all, actually. In last place for me is Mission Impossible 2, directed by John Woo. And yeah, this film for me just missed the mark. I watched this one for the first time like this year, and it is just a really different tone to all of the other Mission Impossible movies. It is just really trying to be cool, I guess. There's a bunch of explosions. Tom Cruise has like long hair and he's wearing sunglasses. And the music is weird. The editing I didn't really get. It feels like an odd duck in the Mission Impossible franchise. Anthony Hopkins is in this movie and I totally forgot what he's all about. The villain is also really forgetful. Yeah, this movie was just not really for me. Literally, I almost couldn't finish. Like, I had to watch it in 2 times because it was just a little bit much. And particularly if you come from first watching the other Mission Impossible movies, because I started with Ghost Protocol and then going back to this one, it's like, what is going on? It's a total shift. This is just my list. Let me know in the comments down below, what is your ranking of all of the Mission Impossible movies? That's it for me. Doombot out, and have yourself a happy Doomsday.